Welcome to the Explainer. If you're studying for your AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, then you have come to the right place. This is a topic you absolutely have to know, inside and out, the Shared Responsibility Model. Today, we are going to break it down so you can nail any question the exam throws at you. Okay, let's just jump right in with a pretty startling statistic from Gartner, 95%. Wow. Now, that number isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to focus you. It really highlights why understanding your part of the bargain in the cloud is just, well, non-negotiable. So this whole explainer is designed to give you the mental model you need to get this right. We're going to make it crystal clear where AWS's responsibility stops and yours begins. And that distinction, that's not just key for passing the exam, it's key for building anything securely in the real world. Here is our game plan for the next few minutes. We're going to start with the one golden rule you need to know. Then we'll break down the core idea, see how it applies to different kinds of services, and then wrap it all up with a practice exam question. Sound good? Let's do it.
All right, first up, the absolute foundation. Seriously, if you only remember one thing from this entire session, make it this golden rule.
So this is the official definition. It's a partnership, right? A framework for shared responsibility. AWS takes on this massive operational lift, but that doesn't mean you can just toss them the keys and walk away. The real question, the one the exam will test you on, is how, exactly, is this responsibility divided? And that brings us to the most critical distinction you need to master. This is the heart of the whole thing: security of the cloud versus security in the cloud. Getting this is everything. Here it is, plain and simple. AWS is responsible for the security of the cloud. Think of that as the physical stuff, the global infrastructure. You, the customer, are responsible for security in the cloud. That's your data, your applications, your configurations, everything you put on top of that infrastructure. You know, when we say of the cloud, just think about the stuff you literally can't touch. We're talking about the concrete data centers with security guards, the physical servers in the racks, the network cables connecting everything, and the virtualization software that makes the cloud, well, the cloud. You can't patch a server you can't physically access, right? That's AWS's job. Okay, now let's see how this model actually works in practice. We'll start with infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, which is where you have the most control. The classic example here, and the one you'll see all over the exam, is an Amazon EC2 instance. For all intents and purposes, it's just a virtual server in the cloud. And because it's infrastructure, you get a lot of control, which, you guessed it, means you also get a lot of security responsibility. This slide just illustrates that split perfectly for IaaS. AWS handles the physical server and the virtualization layer that makes your instance run. But you are responsible for managing that guest operating system. That means you are doing the Windows or Linux updates. You are applying security patches. And you install your own software and configure the virtual firewall, which we call security groups. All of that is on you. Okay, so what happens when you use services where AWS manages more of the underlying stuff for you? Let's see how that line of responsibility shifts when we talk about platform as a service and software as a service. So now we're talking about services like Amazon RDS, which is a managed database service, or Amazon S3 for object storage. With these, you don't even see the operating system. AWS handles it all for you, so naturally that responsibility line moves. See how much more is on the AWS side of the table here? For a database on RDS, AWS is patching the OS and the database software itself. But, and this is a huge but, look at what's still your job: managing your data, deciding how to encrypt it, classifying it, and, crucially, using identity and access management, IAM, to control exactly who can access it. Okay, this is a massive point for the exam, so let's just pause and really consolidate the things that are always your responsibility, no matter which service you use. Just burn this into your brain. No matter what, you are always responsible for your data. Period. That includes encrypting it. You're always responsible for managing who can do what with IAM, and you're always responsible for configuring your network controls, like security groups. So if an exam question mentions protecting data or setting user permissions, you know the responsibility is yours. All right, time to put this knowledge to the test. Here's a very typical question you might see on the Cloud Practitioner exam. Let's see how you do. Okay, take a second and think about it. EC2, what kind of service is that? And in that model, who's in charge of the virtual operating system? Exactly, you are. Because EC2 is IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service. AWS handles the hardware, but you manage everything from the OS on up. So patching that guest operating system is squarely on your shoulders. You got it. So there you have it. You now have the framework to ace any question about the shared responsibility model on the exam. But let's go back to that Gartner statistic. The real challenge isn't just knowing the model, it's living it. The execution is everything. So the real question is, what's your first step to improve your security in the cloud? Thanks for watching.